Call to order Finance Committee meeting for February the 5th, 2019. Before we get into our agenda items, we have a special recognition that will be presented at this time by the mayor.
Angela Plummer, would you come and meet us right down here as Employee of the Month? Here we go. You go by here first. Angela Plummer is Employee of the Month for February 2018. Angela began working for the city as a temp employee in June of 2014 as a parts clerk in our fleet department, equipment maintenance division. She started about a year after the division was up and running and is still here today. Using her database knowledge, Angela helped input the asset and inventory information for the city and got the parts room set up. And I know Robert appreciates that very much, as well as the other folks that work there. Currently, she manages the database system and works with IT to maintain and fix errors that found in the system. Before working for the city, Angela was administrative assistant and did database programming. Angela grew up and graduated from Fort Gibson High School, and we won't hold that against you. She is married to Richard, and they just celebrated their 18th wedding anniversary, December of 2017. She has 2 grown children, a son and a daughter, and cannot wait to be a grandmother someday. Angela is a college student and is 1 class away from having her degree in business administration. After she completes her business degree, she plans to finish another degree in computer programming online. In her spare time, she loves to fish and spend time with her family. Congratulations, Angela Plummer, on being February 2018 Employee of the Month. Thanks. You can do that as well. Okay. So just go around and let everybody shake hands over there.
It's before he came in. 10:30.
You did all the heavy lifting, getting the punch room all together. That's what that's all about.
I just want to say thank you, and I have thoroughly enjoyed working with everybody. I work with all the departments, so I love everybody I deal with.
Even Robert?
Even Robert.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We appreciate your service. Thank you.
Back to the regular agenda, item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of January 16th, 2018.
After reviewing of the minutes, are there any corrections or additions?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 1 passed. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments January 11, 2018 through January 31st, 2018.
We have a report from the Purchasing Committee.
Yes, sir. The purchasing committee met earlier today and reviewed the report of claims, and I move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Are there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 2 passed. Item number 3, please.
Discuss and take action to authorize submission of letters of intent to the City of Muskogee Foundation for the upcoming grant cycle for city projects as follows. Depot District Development, $800,000. Parks and Recreation Maintenance Fund, $100,000. Hatbox Hangar Renovations Phase 2, $400,000. Hatbox Livestock Show Arena, $750,000. Mobile Stage, $150,000. City County Street Projects, $375,000. Juvenile Adult Community Service, $86,809. Community Intervention Center, $152,777. Housing Rehab Neighborhood Revitalization, $300,000. Restoration and Beautification, $150,000. Demolition Program, $200,000.
Mr. Miller?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. These are grants that we would like to submit letters of intent to the City of Muskogee Foundation. Our process would be, of course, to approve these in committee, and then next week at council, the deadline for submitting to the City of Muskogee Foundation the letters of intent is the 15th of February, so we're on track and on time with these. Many of these you're familiar with. You've had a chance to look through them in your packet for a brief update, and rather than me try and paraphrase those, I've got a group of people here that are experts that can answer any questions you may have. We have pared this list down from a much larger list of grants that the city was considering, but we tried to prioritize these so that we could bring bring forward the city's highest priority needs as we go forward to the foundation, realizing that, of course, there are limited funds as we move forward. So we would ask for your questions and comments and then recommend approval.
Did I see a summary of how many dollars this request was going to be for?
Oh, you did at one point, and I think I've neglected to bring that with me.
Okay. Is it about $3 million, or not quite?
Yes, and the city has match for several of those grants as well.
Which I think is key, and
Yes.
as we go forward.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Any further discussion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this item. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 3 passed. Item number 4, please.
Discuss and provide city council support for submission of letters of intent to the City of Muskogee Foundation for the upcoming grant cycle for these projects to be submitted by nonprofits to the benefit of the city. $101,000 Civil Air Patrol Building Rehabilitation, $250,000 Animal Shelter Expansion, $150,000 Main Street Muskogee Green Space Development.
Mr. Miller?
Yes. Similarly, these are letters of intent that will be submitted to the City of Muskogee Foundation, but they'll be submitted by third parties, nonprofits that are looking at projects affiliated with the city in some way, and we feel it's important that we show our support officially through a a letter of support. This action here, again, we can take questions on the individual projects, but I think you're familiar with them. We would like to have your permission then to formally submit letters of support with these letters of intent.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 4 passed. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval of a professional services agreement with Michael S. Bates, Labor Relations Consulting Services of Tulsa, Oklahoma, to provide labor relations services to the City of Muskogee covering the time frame of fiscal year 2018-2019, as well as related employee labor relations work as determined by the city, and authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute the agreement or take other necessary action.
Kelly?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is the annual professional services agreement with Mr. Bates for labor relations services. There are no increases in his contract rates for fiscal year 2018-19. It would be for labor relations services, any union negotiations we would need him for, or any arbitrations if needed. Happy to answer any questions, and I recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 5 passed. Item number 6, please.
Consider approval to accept the lowest and best bid from Key Equipment in the amount of $47,759 for the purchase of hydro excavator valve exerciser or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee. This is for the purchase of what's known as a valve exerciser and a hydro excavator. The exerciser is needed. We have some 5,000 plus valves out there sitting, resting, and what this does is we take it out, exercise valves, it GPSs the locations, and that way we can track when they've been exercised. Part of the problem we have in times when you shut down a line for a repair, the valve hasn't been exercised in years, and we're not able to get it closed. And this will keep our valves in a healthy condition, and we'll know when they've been exercised and have a better tracking of the valves in the field. And it also has a hydro excavator, which is a water pressure excavator with more of a soft dig type deal, so that we can actually excavate fine utility lines without using a backhoe bucket or a shovel, and it helps save in breaking utility lines. And it's all put together on comes together on a trailer mounted system with a generator and everything it needs. So it was budgeted for $55,000, so it's in budget, and we recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 6 passed. Item number 7, please.
Consider approval for the purchase of a 2019 Kenworth T370 grapple clamshell bucket truck through the NJPA contract for the Environmental Control Department in the amount of $166,714, or take other necessary action.
Mrs. Swifton?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We are seeking approval for the new grapple truck. This will replace a aged 2006 model truck that we currently have. In your packets, I did enclose a picture of what the grapple truck is. It's basically a debris removal truck used to pick up trash, limbs, concrete, items of that nature. This is a budgeted item in the OWRB loan. It did come in significantly under budget. We extensively reviewed several options with different chassis manufacturers, the truck itself, the bodies, the grapple unit itself. We went with the Kenworth after evaluating all of them due to their stellar performance that we've had over the last 2 purchases from them over the last couple of years, and the Brush Hog brand grapple, which comes highly recommended, has a stellar reputation as well. It's just a more robust design, has a bigger, what they call a slew bearing in the turret part. So after exploring all options, we decided upon this unit to purchase, and it is on the NJPA contract, which we've utilized here recently in the past. I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 7 passed, and that was our final item for the Finance Committee.
We'll now call to order the Public Works Committee meeting for February 5th, 2018. Tammy, when you're ready.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of January the 16th, 2017.
Any additions or changes?
Move the approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 2.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of ordinance number 4038A, rezoning the property located at 2312 Augusta Street, more particularly described in the ordinance from C1 Local Commercial District to R1 Single Family Residential, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We're now in the public hearing. Mr. Garland.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, The applicant, Kenneth and Levita Gold, is requesting approval to rezone property from the C1 Local Commercial District to the R1 Single Family Residential District. The property is located at 2312 Augusta Street. The reason for the rezoning is to allow a couple of new single-family dwellings to be located on the property. Looking at the existing zoning land used within the area, starting with the site. Currently, the site is zoned C1, local commercial, and is vacant property. To the north is zoned R1 single family. There's a couple of single family dwellings. To the south is zoned C1 local commercial, an apartment complex. To the east is zoned C1 local commercial, and there's a convenience store. And to the west is zoned R1 single family and a single family dwelling. Now, if you look at the land use map, it does indicate single family dwelling within this area. Therefore, this request complies with the land use map and comprehensive plan adopted by the City of Muskogee. This item was recommended for approval by staff and Planning Commission. Be glad to answer any questions.
Seeing that no one signed up to speak to this issue, we're going to close the public hearing. Any other discussion amongst this committee?
Are these incentive grant applicants or not?
No, all the incentive money is encumbered, so it will not have incentive money for these two houses.
Okay.
The applicant did take advantage of the incentive program on some other houses.
Any other questions or comments?
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Gully, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
These people own this property that they're rezoning, correct?
Correct.
If you don't mind tomorrow, is there any way you could call them and tell them to kind of, that ditch line along there, it's just a trashy mess. It's a mess. I've been intending to call it in, but I've been so busy.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
I turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Gully.
Thanks, sir. Any other comments or questions? I have a motion and a second. Is that right, Tammy? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gawley,
Yes.
Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 3.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of ordinance number 4039A, rezoning the property located on North Country Club Road between Chandler Road and Gibson Street, more particularly described in the ordinance from A Agriculture District to C1 Local Commercial District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We're now in a public hearing. Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the applicant David and Sue Vanderford is requesting approval to rezone property from the A Agricultural District to the C1 Local Commercial District. The property is located on the east side of Country Club Road between Chandler Road and Gibson Street. The reason for the rezoning is to allow a banquet facility to be located on the property. The site is currently zoned A Agricultural and is undeveloped property. To the north is zoned A Agricultural, undeveloped property. To the south is zoned A Agricultural. It's undeveloped property, pasture land. To the east is zoned A Agricultural. It is also undeveloped. And to the west, which is between the site being rezoned and the country club, is zoned A Agricultural and undeveloped property. If you look at the land use map, it does show this area as a transitional area. And as you can see on the land use map, the light purple is the industrial zoning classification. The kind of gold-looking area is the transitional area, and on the west side of Country Club is residential. So the C1 local commercial is considered a transition between industrial and residential. The C1 is the most restrictive commercial zoning that's allowed, or that we have. The C1 zone does comply with the comprehensive plan land use map, and both staff and planning commissions recommended approval. Be glad to answer any questions. And the applicants are also present if you have any questions.
And I have one person who has signed up to speak to this issue, John Hammonds. You'll have 5 minutes. Name and address, please, sir. I think you know the procedures.
John Tyler Hammonds, 230 West Okmulgee. I represent the applicants. We just want to say we look forward to making continued investment in Muskogee. It's be a great wedding facility for anyone that you know might be needing. So happy to answer any questions on behalf of the applicant.
Seeing that do you have any questions for Mr. Hammonds?
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing that no one else signed up to speak to this issue, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Got to get out of.
I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to open it up for any discussion before we take a motion.
I will move for approval on the item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 4.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of ordinance number 4040A, rezoning the property located on North 54th Street, north of Shawnee Avenue, more particularly described in the ordinance from R1 Single Family Residential to RA Agriculture Residential, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We are now in a public hearing. Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the applicants are requesting to rezone the property from the R1 Single Family Residential District to the RA Residential Agricultural District. The property is located on the east side of 54th Street, north of Shawnee Avenue. The reason for the rezoning is the applicant plans on building a new single-family dwelling on the property, but he also wants to possibly have horses. He definitely wants to have a large garden and a barn on the property. The only difference between the R1 zoning in the RA is that basically it will allow a larger size barn and will allow a minimum amount of livestock. Now, looking at the existing zoning land use, currently the site is zoned R1 and is undeveloped property. North of the site is zoned R1, single family, and there's single family dwelling. South of the site is zoned R1 and it's undeveloped property. East of the site is zoned R1 and is also undeveloped property. And west of the site is zoned R1 and is undeveloped property. The reason for all the R1 zoning, as you know, when property is annexed into the city limits, it automatically comes in under the single-family zoning classification. Now, if you look at the land use map, it does indicate agricultural zoning within this area. The RA, residential agricultural, is an agricultural zoning, therefore it complies with the land use map adopted by the city. Staff and planning commission's recommended approval. Again, be glad to answer any questions.
Seeing that no one's signed up to speak to this issue, we're going to close the public hearing. Any discussion among the committee?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other thoughts, discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 5.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of ordinance number 4041A, rezoning the property located on South Cherokee Street, south of Cherokee Drive, more particularly described in the ordinance, from C1 Local Commercial District to I1 Light Industrial District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We are now open to public hearing. Gary, I'm going to let Mr. Garvin start so we can all have an idea where this property is. Then I'll call you up if you don't mind. Gary, the floor is yours.
The applicants, Philip and Penny Coppin, is requesting approval to rezone the property from the C1 Local Commercial District to the I1 Light Industrial District. The property is located on the west side of Cherokee Street, just south of Cherokee Drive. The reason for the rezoning is to allow mini storage business to be located on the property. There is existing mini storage buildings on the property. The previous property owner had a non-conforming use with the buildings because it was vacant for over 90 days. He lost that non-conforming use. Now to reopen it, it has to be zoned industrial. Looking at the site, it is currently zoned C1, and there is an existing storage building on the property. To the north is zone C1. It's undeveloped property. There's an older house on a little farther to the north of this site. South is zone C1, single-family dwelling on the property. East is zone C1. There's a couple single-family dwellings. And west is also zone C1 and is undeveloped property. Now, if you look at the land use map does indicate industrial zoning within this area. It says agricultural, but it's actually industrial zoning within this area. The I-1 is an light industrial zoning classification, therefore it does comply with the land use map adopted by the city of Muskogee. Staff and Planning Commissions both recommended approval. I would add that there was 2 individuals who attended the Planning Commission meeting this morning who spoke in opposition to this request. Be glad to answer any questions. And the applicants are also present.
Have one citizen is wishing to speak to this issue. Gary Martin. Gary, if you don't mind, for the record, I need your name and address, please.
Gary Martin, 2802 South Cherokee Street. I pastor the Sanctuary Apostolic Church located at that address.
Okay.
Directly northeast of the property, I fall within the 300-foot radius to be notified. I never received a letter stating anything about a meeting this morning. I was out of state, had to drive in for the meeting this evening. For this, therefore, I've not had time to properly prepare for this, but I am opposed to this going into an industrial zoning.
Would you mind clarifying that just a little bit as to maybe why?
Well, because it's going to directly affect the church and the property around the church. The homes that are there, there's a vacant lot directly across the street that if someone wanted to build a home on or whatever, that they would not be able to do that. And my wife and I was talking about purchasing that property from the current owner and doing that because I currently live in Bigsby and fixing to move here into Muskogee.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Martin? If not, we're going to close the public hearing. Any questions or comments for Mr. Garvin? Or?
Yeah, I've got a question, a little clarification, Mr. Garvin. So up until the time that the bank foreclosed, this was designated under C1,
Mm-hmm.
and at one time, the C1 designation allowed for a little storage unit.
Storage facilities used to be allowed in commercial zoning. About 2.5 years ago, we revised our regulations and we moved it up into the industrial classification.
So the reason that they're asking for the rezoning is it's always been a storage facility. It was a storage facility. They bought this storage facility, and now that it expired from a grandfather clause situation, we have to rezone this small portion to industrial.
Before they can open it back up.
And my understanding is, in our land use map, this area
It's been designated for
designated
industrial
for that.
classification.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
I will address on the notices, we did publish it in the paper, so require property owners listing from a abstract company, surveyor, or attorney. I think Pioneer Abstract's the one who done the property owners listing for this property. We sent out 17 letters. We had one letter come back, and it was the Sanctuary Church.
My mailing address is not the physical address, which is also listed on the deed and everything of the church. So if it come back, it should have been remailed back to our P.O. box.
Okay.
Mr. Garvin, what were the other objections that were discussed at the meeting?
One concern was the property owner directly to the south, which originally, when this mini storage or this storage facility was built, the house and the storage facility was one owner. I believe it was Mr. Ridley at the time. It's our understanding Mr. Ridley got a divorce, and when he did, somehow the HUD ended up with the house, the bank ended up with the storage facility. So they were evidently sold separately. Different individual bought the house, Coppins bought the mini storage facility. When he bought the house, he did not have the property surveyed. So when Mr. Coppins bought the property, had it surveyed, the property line runs right down the middle of the driveway and encompasses a lot of the house's backyard. So he had concerns about that. He had concerns about, he said he had young kids that he was afraid people coming to the mini storage would have an accident with his young kids. Trying to think what else his concern was. That was mainly his concern. The person across the street, there was a lady who spoke representing the owner of the person across the street, just didn't want to see industrial zoning within this area.
Is the industrial zoning limited to that one facility, or is it expansive beyond their property
It's
lines?
just limited to that one facility, and frankly, there's not enough room to add on to it, so it will not get any larger or change. He will have to do some hard surface. Since he lost his non-conforming use, he's now going to comply with the code, so before we issue a CO for it to have the business there, he'll have to put up some fencing, because you have to have a site-proof fence between commercial and residential, or industrial and residential, whatever the case may be. So he'll have to put up a fence, he'll have to do some hard surface before we'll issue a CO.
And prior to this request, if you may or may not know this, during the lifetime of that property as a previous storage facility, were there any complaints of record that we know of that we need to be aware of now?
Not that I am aware of. And we have had a couple other, not this property, but we've had on a little farther to the south, we've had some industrial zoning take place down the road. So it's not something new that we're adding to the area as far as industrial zoning. A lot of that area between along Cherokee Street, there's I think a wrecker service, there's a car lot, there's a car repair shop, there's several heavy commercial businesses within that area. And again, there's been a couple industrial rezonings within that area also just here in the last few years.
So, Mr. Garvin, even if this committee votes yes across the board, it will still be a public hearing and it won't be on a consent agenda for Monday night, next Monday.
No, on all ordinances or rezonings are ordinances, so they will always be on the regular agenda.
Okay.
And there will be a public hearing also Monday night.
Because I just know for myself, I'd like to go drive by this property before a final decision's made.
Yes.
And maybe give Mr. Martin a little more time to be prepared for next Monday. So even a yes vote will still not be final?
It's not final until Monday city council votes.
And I was thinking along the same lines. I'd almost rather see it. I don't know if public hearings, if we can forward without recommendation.
Say it again.
Can we forward the item without recommendation?
Yes, you can. You can do that.
And because I agree with Councilman Gutley, I'd like to see I'd like some firsthand visuals, and also to give Mr. Martin at least another week to look at things and be comfortable.
Is that a motion?
So moved.
Second. So I have a motion and a second to move forward with no recommendation. Any discussion or questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 6.
Consider approval of amended City Council Policy 3-2-2, pay administration, or take other necessary action.
Good.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this policy is for our general employees. It's our pay administration policy that outlines our pay practices for those non-uniform and non-union eligible employees. As you may recall from AFSCME negotiations a couple of weeks ago, we had increased the compensatory time max accrual for the AFSCME employees from 140 hours to 160 hours. This policy mirrors the AFSCME provision of their contract, and also allows those employees to accumulate a maximum amount of 160 hours. This would affect approximately 20 general employees who are non-exempt. Happy to answer any questions, and I recommend approval.
Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Thank you, Kelly. Item number 7.
Receive report on the recycling program or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman of the committee, Karen Coker, our stormwater quality technician, is going to do a presentation on recycling in Muskogee.
Greg, I'm sorry, I missed her name.
Karen Coker.
Karen? Thank you. I just want to make sure.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Karen, you may need to pull that microphone down a little closer to you.
Oh.
There you go. Thanks.
Thank you. This is recycling in Muskogee, what we are doing now and what we can do better. This is a picture of the recycling center here just on Main Street. It's on the corner of Iola and North Main. At the recycling center, we are proud of the fact that we provide employment for functionally impaired young people. These clients of Incor help the customers unload the recyclables and sort the items as needed. The clients work shifts of 2 to 4 hours per day, depending on the abilities of the client. There is a job coach from Incor on staff at all times. In 2017, we paid Incor $24,948 for this service. The location and hours, once again, 110 Iola, north of the Nissan dealership on North Main. There's the hours. You also have a recycling flyer there that I gave you, spelling out the hours and the days that we're closed, and we are closed during inclement weather. There's the acceptable items, and there's ours. This is kind of a basic thing. We do take other things, but this is a basic thing for this presentation. This is what we do not take, radioactive material, you know. But we do offer free mulch. We do offer free mulch. Any questions on that? Okay. All right, this is a picture of our cardboard and paper bins. The cardboard is the blue one on the left. The 2 paper bins are on the right, and they are emptied as needed, sometimes 2 to 3 times per day. This is the balers that bale the plastic bottles. The one it's kind of hard to see, but there's the one on the left is for number 1 plastics. The one at the farther back, on the other side of the grocery carts with the plastic bottles, is baler number 2, and that's for plastic bottles number 2. This is a picture of the glass bins on the left, the green, brown, and clear. And then there's a small cooking oil waste bin, and the 2 bins at the back is for aluminum cans and tin. And then there's the mulch pile.
Where's your mulch come from, Karen?
It is from the tree and limb site, and it's mulched out there and then delivered to the mulch site. We don't deliver, by the way. Okay, what we are paid. The city of Muskogee is paid for metal, aluminum cans, plastic, and glass. The total paid in 2017 per each recyclable is glass, $2,056, plastic, $3,311, and tin and metal from Yaffe, $4,858. The 2017 total of recycled materials is $10,225. These payments from the recyclers help offset the payment to Incor, utilities, and maintenance of the yard. If we could encourage more recycling, we could possibly decrease the difference between income and expenses. Georgia Pacific picked up 173 times last year. The city is not paid for the cardboard or paper. The monthly average of the number of cars dropping off at the recycling center for 2017 was 1,233, which most of the customers are return customers. So that is a drop in the bucket compared to the population of Muskogee. The landfill run by Waste Management accepts 14,583 tons of garbage per year at a cost of $447,200. What we don't recycle goes into the landfill. The next handout explains the time frame of various recyclables and how long they last in the landfill. Kind of an interesting little table there. Oh, there it is. Okay. What can we do better? We need to practice what we preach. We should continue the effort by the City of Muskogee employees to recycle in our city offices. We can strive to heighten the awareness to improve the amount of recycled materials to keep them out of the landfill. Why must we do better? According to the Muskogee Target Industry Analysis, commissioned by the Muskogee Port Authority, there are 3 components of sustainability: social, economic, and environmental. The social aspect of recycling is the good feeling you get knowing you're doing something good for the greater good. Recycling is part of the environmental component, of course, but it is also part of the economic component in that companies are increasingly adopting operating strategies that incorporate sustainable business practices. Communities that similarly engage in sustainable business practices are more attractive to forward-thinking companies. Those companies seeking to relocate to Muskogee are looking for sustainable programs to be aligned with. To promote a greater recycle effort in Muskogee, we should encourage partnerships in the community to develop waste streams to divert recyclables from the landfill. We are paid for glass. Focus on bars and restaurants. Bottles are heavy. They cost the city a lot to send to the landfill. And as you note in the How Long Does Litter Last list, it's one of the longest. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Any questions for Karen, or we're going to let her go? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have one citizen wishing to address this committee, James Winter. I need your name and address for the record, and we have 3 minutes.
James Winter, I need to request an additional 2 minutes, please.
That will be up to this committee. Normally, we limit it to 3 minutes, sir.
Yes, I know. That's why I'm requesting an additional 2. It'd take me 5 minutes to read this.
I'll make a motion for him to have extended 2 minutes.
I have a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Gully.
Yes.
Jenny Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman. Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, you now have 5 minutes.
The Route 69 bypass supports growth of a modern Muskogee. Dear Muskogee City Council, planners, city government, and citizens of Muskogee, Oklahoma. Without further ado, the making of nonsense words or naming pet projects, the city of Muskogee needs to wake up to the future. The proposed removal of the massive semi-truck traffic from a Muskogee street is a blessing that will support the expansion of the city. The loss of commercial traffic that does not stay overnight, eat at restaurants, visit the VA, stop at any city parks, or spend money shopping locally will contribute to a safer 32nd Street. Business 69 for all citizens of Muskogee. Visiting tourists will be able to enter and exit to and from stores. I can't get this thing. There we go. To and from stores, restaurants, drive-ins, convenience stores, business shops, medical facilities, or leaving a local motel after spending the night without being in danger of being run over by a stream of semi-trucks and trailers. The highly questionable opposition of Muskogee City Council, planners, and the current mayor at this time reflects a short-sighted view of a future moving toward a modern city in Oklahoma. The elimination of the biggest hazard facing all vehicle drivers of the city of Muskogee traveling east and west or west-east across town has been too long in coming and should be endorsed and welcomed. Making 32nd Street more accessible and safer for citizens, drivers, pedestrians, bikers, runners, walkers, children, seniors, city vehicles, and any required emergency, police, fire, or ambulances intent on saving lives is a step toward saving lives by representing people and not just a self-serving means to take money from the public. Speeding semis will no longer be unenforced by local police or the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. This will actually allow traffic to be controlled on a Business 69, resulting in fewer accidents and provide a source of revenue to the city from violators, instead of just ignoring the problem. The years of commercial traffic flowing through West Muskogee like a never-ending fourth river, endangering citizens' lives and polluting our environment, needs to stop. There will no longer be a wait of 4 to 5 minutes needed at intersections to safely cross 32nd Street to get to the VA, the St. Francis Hospital, visit Honor Heights Park, or travel to or from downtown. Citizens will not risk their life driving, walking, biking, or running across the 69 semi-truck death zone. Take a look at Chakotah and how traffic routed west of town opened a corridor of trade, development, and expansion. Over the last 14 years, the increase of commercial property west of Jenks, Oklahoma is beyond belief. The footprint of Muskogee has been limited by failure to develop opportunity to the west, delaying new housing projects and the needed expansion of Muskogee. The opening of the area by a 69 bypass is a win-win, contributing to sustained growth. The idea to force people down a funnel of congestion is not moving into the future. The lack of a claimed viable vision reflected by the very officials who speculated and promoted Muskogee on the basis of a minimal approach has resulted in money out, but not in. Where's the money coming from to pay these visionaries? There is a cost being passed on to the majority of average citizens, and wasting hard-earned money is no longer an acceptable business practice, no matter how you get a share of a 200% pie. The apparent Pied Piper approach to Muskogee improvements is showing a failure to build a great future. A modernistic approach to a new, modern, growing, thriving Muskogee, Oklahoma is called for. Unlike the naysayers, I see a new West Muskogee High School in the future resulting from a growing population, one needing and supporting additional housing. This can only happen by spending and investing to attract a long-term manufacturer to the city of Muskogee. First and foremost, that should be our number one priority, not spending hundreds of thousands on a deteriorating downtown. The claim, if you build it, they will come, is fantasy. Where is the money coming from to support optimistic salaries and employees? The necessary expansion over the last 10 years has been limited by taking a nearsighted, out-of-focus route, one mistakenly based on providing entertainment before profit. I'm sorry, I'm running out of time on this. I'm going to try to get to the gist of it. The time is now to meet with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation and provide constructive input into the planning, implementing, and completion of a 69 bypass that will benefit all voters. Help the city of Muskogee move forward. If the Oklahoma DOT needs to allow 69 business access, the city must keep the Shawnee Fort bypass, Fort Gibson, Tahlequah, Route 62 East route intact. The failure to step up and get involved could be devastating to the city of Muskogee.
If you don't mind, could you just make us a copy of that? And we can,
I have a copy, and I'm out of time. That's what I was saying. I was just trying to get the last in.
I think you're making.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Just wanted still a different point of view.
Sure.
And I have copies for you.
Appreciate it. Seeing that no one else has signed up to speak to this committee, we are adjourned.
We now call to order the special call meeting, Muskogee City Council. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall. Marlon Coleman. Janie Boydston. Here. Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here. Items 1, A, B, C, and D.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, consider the appointment of Brett Smith as municipal judge to serve a full 2-year term beginning February 1, 2018 and ending January 31, 2020, unless sooner removed for cause pursuant to sections 34-89 of the Muskogee City Code, or take other necessary action. B, pursuant to section 307B1, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the employment and evaluate the performance of City Manager Mike Miller, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. C, pursuant to section 307B1, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the employment and evaluate the performance of City Attorney Roy D. Tucker, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. D, pursuant to section 307B1, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the employment and evaluate the performance of City Clerk Tammy L. Tracy, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Now consider a motion for executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. We'll now consider ourselves in executive session. We will now reconvene from executive session. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Here.
Dan Hall. Marlon Coleman. Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Regarding items A1, A, B, C, and D, Mr. Tucker, would you address those for us?
Be happy to. The City Council considered the appointment of Brett Smith as municipal judge for a 2-year term. In executive session pursuant to 307B1, the council also addressed an evaluation for Mr. Smith as judge. At this point, I believe it is appropriate for a motion to be made to approve a new contract for Judge Smith beginning February 1st, 2018 and ending January 31st, 2020.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. B, C, and D.
Pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25, the City Council did convene an executive session to discuss the employment and continue the evaluation of performance of City Manager Mike Miller. At this point, no action is necessary at this time. Item C, pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council did convene an executive session to discuss the employment and evaluate the performance of City Attorney Roy Tucker. At this point, no action is necessary. Section D, pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council did convene an executive session to discuss the employment and to continue the evaluation of performance of City Clerk Tammy L. Tracy. At this point, no action is necessary on that item as well. Mayor?
That concludes our agenda for this evening's meeting. Thank you for being a part.